We're closing gong live from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange by Deola Alabi, a Nollywood star, bringing to end today's trading at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Now, in the course of the program, we will be joining TVC News business editor Effiong Ekop for more analysis on how the day's proceedings went at the NSE. Welcome to Business Nigeria. I am Tululokpe Ogunjobi. And let's see some top stories making headlines in the world of business. A warm welcome to you again. The National Bureau of Statistics says in its capital importation report that investment inflows into Nigeria rose by 95.02%. That's from about 884 million US dollars in the first quarter of this year to more than 1 billion US dollars in the second quarter. NBS attributed the main driver of quarterly growth in the second quarter to the 146% increase in portfolio investments. This, it added, was followed by other investments, which grew by 95%, and foreign direct investments, which increased by 29% over the previous quarter. The total turnover of Forex transactions on investors and exporters window has risen to $7.62 billion. According to the monthly analysis by FSDH Merchant Bank Limited, the increase has been consistent since April this year. The report pointed out that the implementation of the investors and exporters window, a foreign exchange window, has increased the supply of foreign exchange into the Nigerian economy. The CBN says the objective of the window is to increase liquidity in the Forex market and ensure timely execution and settlement of eligible transactions. Meanwhile, more than 700 bureau de change operators have been rendered inactive in the Central Bank of Nigeria's Forex window. This is because of the uncertainty that their businesses cannot be sustained. That's according to the president of the Association of Bureau de Change Operators, Aminu Gwadabe. He explains that the BDC business has been badly affected by uncompetitive rates. CBN sells dollars to the BDCs at higher rates compared to what the commercial banks pay. Gwadabe wants the central bank to urgently take steps to review the rates, arguing that it would boost the ongoing recovery of the naira against the dollar. In the last 1 week, the naira has traded at 368 per dollar at the parallel market, a major improvement from 520 naira per dollar last February. Before we go on, let's listen to this report on the basics of Forex trading in Nigeria.
Forex trading includes all aspects of buying, selling, and exchanging currencies at current or determined prices in order to make a profit. The Forex market was established to enable currencies be purchased and sold against one another. To facilitate this, currencies are paired when priced during trading. In Forex pairing terminology, there is a base currency and quote currency, and the goal is to make profits as prices of these various currencies fluctuate. The Forex market in Nigeria is open 24/7 and its daily volume exceeds $5 trillion. Until the 1990s, Forex trading was relatively unknown in Nigeria. This changed at the turn of the millennium following the arrival of mobile telecommunications in Nigeria and improved internet connections. In most respects, Forex trading in Nigeria operates as in other parts of the world. A Nigerian Forex trader connects the Forex market via a broker on an internet-enabled device. Experts in the business say the most efficient way to a profitable Forex career requires reading about fundamental and technical analysis, designing a trading system that suits you and ensure it gets traded for at least a month on a demo account, and then practicing the art by starting small. The risk involved in trading Forex in Nigeria does not differ much when trading outside Nigeria. However, the latency of internet connectivity is a major concern when trading Forex, and most Nigerian market participants often subscribe to more than one internet service provider. The best times to trade Forex is usually during periods of volatility, which in Nigeria fall between 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time.
Well, joining me in the studio to shed more light on this is the Sub-Saharan African investment analyst, Ibrahim Babalola. And also with me today on the show is an investment research analyst with AfriInvest, Obianuju Nsofo. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me start this, ladies first. Let me start with Obianuju. Obianuju, let's look at the Forex situation in Nigeria. It's been a running story. We've been on it for some time. Would you agree that there's a little bit of stability at this time?
Well, yeah, the CBN has been able to record a number of progress in the foreign exchange market. I mean, if you look at developing economies, you will note that it's pertinent that the central bank keep an eye on the exchange rates in order to maintain price and exchange rate stability. So what we've seen this year is that, or rather since 2015, is that the CBN has operated about 6 multiple windows in order to meet demand to the retail as well as the primary dealers. So what we've noticed is that the spread as at January to February was about 200. That's from the official to the parallel market. We've seen it narrow down to about 63, 17 naira, and that has sort of reduce the any opportunity for round tripping in the market.
Yeah. I'd like to throw that to you, Ibrahim. The disparity still exists. We still have about 40-something naira, if not more than that. I think almost 60 naira in some cases. You know, looking at I'm talking about the commercial banks and the parallel market in some cases.
But again, it depends on what window. It depends on what window you're looking at.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? We have the I&E window. There's market exchange rates, so it's market determined exchange rate in that window. We have the window for the SMEs. We have the windows where the banks play. We have the windows where the IOC plays. So again, when you look at the exchange rates, it depends on what window you're talking about when you look at the gap. But again, we have to highlight the fact that there's been significant improvement since a year ago, as you mentioned. You know, supply from the supply side has been very, very significant improvement. You know, the CBN is selling over $100 million into the market every week, the primary market, and then some of these trickles down into the parallel market, of course. So again, the CBN has done a lot, right, to improve the stability in that space. Chances or opportunities for round tripping has reduced significantly, as Uju rightly pointed out. You know, and would of course continue to see significant improvement in that space.
Multiple exchange rates is one issue that some analysts say it's not a step to go. I don't know what you make of that.
I agree. I mean, I think it's a consensus opinion. You know, we need to merge all these exchange rates into one truly market-driven exchange rate. I think what the CBN has done is to sort of test the waters with the I&E window, right? And we've seen that it is working. You know, and we've seen the impact of actually having that window in the improvement in FPI inflow into the economy. You know. So again, it's an analyst consensus opinion that we need to have one truly market-driven exchange rate, but we'll take it step by step. You know, won't rush the waters. We'll take it step by step.
Would you the importers and exporters windows now hit $7.62 billion US? That's kind of remarkable. But just like I asked him, what do you make of the multiple exchange rate? I know you have something to say with regards to that.
Well, definitely, the goal is to have a truly an exchange rate that is fair and all. But what we've seen is that our economy is largely dependent on crude oil earnings, and as such, there's been a lot of volatility in that side. So looking at it externally, also we've seen that some global central banks, major central banks, have moved towards the monetary tightening, and as such, the resultant impact is that there'll be outflow of capital in emerging and frontier markets. So these are factors that the CBN continue to look out for in before they actually think of converging the FX market. As of now, the FX market is truly, it's kind of fragile. It's in a fragile state, and as such, with the multiple exchange rates,
window,
have sort of they've seen some sort of progress in that space.
Now, you just touched on a very important thing, the monetary, the fiscal side. That question I'm going to throw to, but before I go to Ibrahim now, is there a synergy now? Before now, you know, it was identified that there wasn't this synergy between the monetary side and the fiscal side. I'm talking about our own country in Nigeria. Would we say that is better now than what we used to have in months back?
Well, yes, there's been a gradual progress in the synergy between monetary and the fiscal authorities. Is it where we want it to be? Definitely not. But as of now, it's still something we need to watch out for. I mean, the fiscal authorities have come out with a plan to restructure our debt profile. I know that the central bank is trying to keep, reduce the level of liquidity in the economy. So, as the time reaches, we'll see if there's a sort of handshake between these two authorities.
The two authorities, yeah. Right? Ibrahim, sincerely, that issue seems to be very important. But something just pricked me now on the issue of the BDCs. Okay. Because in running these businesses, one way or the other, that's the Forex business, the BDCs seem to be kind of important. We can't just ignore them. So now they have come out to say 700 BDCs are under threat because of competitive rates. Now, the Apex Bank sells at 358, according to the information I have, to BDCs, and 358 to commercial banks, 360 to the central bank, and that's to the commercial banks. There's this disparity of 2 naira, which they are saying is not making them get customers. What do you make of this position made by the BDCs? They're talking about this rate. They want to get the same amount that the CBN sells to the commercial banks.
But they're not commercial banks. When you say
commercial banks,
when you say uncompetitive rates, what exactly do we mean by uncompetitive rates? Do the BDCs expect to be getting dollars at the same amount as the IOCs? Do they expect to get dollars at the same amount as the SME window? What exactly is competitive rates? I think we need to probably identify that first. You understand? But I mean, BDCs bureau de change. When you want to travel out, you get them. You exchange money. You know, you're not actually. It's not for like big ticket transactions. Do you get what I mean? And the spread between the bid and ask exchange rates are not supposed to be wide in any way. Again, it's because we've been used to a system where the market was very, very unstructured, and a lot of people could get dollars at whatever rate and sell at whatever rate, and then there was a room to make significant spread and round trip. And because things are working the way they should be working now, and then we're getting a lot of people that have been used to the previous regime be bothered about the way things are working now. Do you get what I mean? Again, I don't necessarily see a problem in having the improvements that we've had in the FX stability in this country. And I think that all the different parties, all the different segments of the FX market should work towards achieving that one target, one objective, which is FX stability.
Indeed. Let's take a break now, and we'll be back with more. I'll still have Uju and Ibrahim here. They will still be giving us details in issues surrounding Forex and, of course, the Nigerian economy. Stay with us. It's still Business Nigeria. All right, glad to have you back. We've been looking at issues surrounding the FX market, a little bit of stability, the I&E window, the benefits and issues even surrounding the bureau de change operators, the BDCs, very important when it has to do with Forex. And I have with me Uju here and also Ibrahim here. They've been giving insights into all of this issue. Uju, the BDCs, before we went on that break, Ibrahim made a position with regards to the issue. But to you, how relevant do you think they are in this economy? Because some people say there are some countries that don't even have bureau de change operators, and they operate businesses, they carry out their work. So how relevant are they in this part of the world?
Well, the Central Bank of Nigeria has sort of recognized these BDCs as an entity. I mean, looking at where our source of revenue is from is largely dependent on crude oil earnings. So as such, the CBN, they need to exchange this in naira in order to distribute FAC allocation and the likes of that. So what they do is that they sell this they sell the supermarket dealers. I mean, then also we have the BDCs as an entity. For you to operate as a BDC, you need to have a license. So as such, they recognize these BDCs as an entity who then sell to the different market participants in the economy. So yes, they are quite relevant, especially the fact that Nigeria has a large informal economy. So yeah, to a large extent, they are very relevant in Nigeria.
So we can't just ignore the BDCs. I think we should consider when they make positions, I think it should be considered by relevant agencies. It shouldn't be ignored.
Well, I think to address that, I think it's a step-by-step process. In April 2017, I think the CBN increased their allocation from $20,000 weekly to about $40,000 weekly. So the CBN is quite aware of the challenges that these BDCs are facing. So it's over time. Tomorrow they could come again. Probably if there's a narrow spread between the parallel and the official market, they could as well do that. But the focus right now is to achieve price and exchange rate stability.
Indeed. Now, Ibrahim, when the issue of the Forex, we started with this Forex crisis, there were issues of companies not being able to repatriate the funds, back and all of that. And also sharp practices by some financial institutions. There were some infractions that even some banks got sanctioned over that. Would you say these sharp practices are reduced? Maybe just your assessment, what do you think? And would you say some of these companies, maybe that have international bodies, are able to now repatriate their funds easier than it used to be some months ago?
I think that we need to be a bit careful of the terms that we use. For the banks that were sanctioned, they were sanctioned because the funds that were allocated to them were not disbursed.
Exactly.
Now, from our conversations with the treasurers of some of these banks, particularly the tier 2 banks and smaller banks, they complain about the size of the allocation. So they're saying that the tier 2, the smaller banks, got the same allocation as the bigger banks, right? And then they don't have as many customers or as many SMEs to disburse the FX to. And then when they don't get to disburse the whole of the allocated tranche of money to them, then they get sanctioned. So they didn't necessarily get sanctioned because they were carrying out sharp practices or trying to carry out illegal transactions. So it might be important to clarify that. I think that the entire, as you rightly said, the entire situation has improved. We don't necessarily have supply issues as we did a year ago. So even repatriating funds by the companies is also is also an easier task. Companies are able to repatriate via multiple windows, whatever window your company falls under. IOCs are able to sell the dollars from the official market, of course, at a lower rate compared to FPIs that are trying to repatriate through the I&E window. Exporters that have sold goods outside Nigeria can get their dollars back into the country through the I&E window as well. So these, and apart from the CBN also pumping in supply through the other windows. So these are some of the factors that have contributed to the improvement in the supply that we have witnessed.
All right. Uju, in one word, you pointed out the issue of the volatility with the oil and gas, the oil market, crude oil market. Do you see CBN sustaining this move? They've tried to sustain it indeed, but in the long run, do you see them sustaining?
Definitely, what the authorities have been doing is that they've been able to maintain peace in the Niger Delta, and as such, all production volumes have actually improved. So we've seen that's what has actually trickled down to our reserves. For the concept of oil prices, it's something that we cannot control. It's an external factor. So what we can do at best is just ramp up our production volumes and in the meantime diversify our revenue into other sectors. We have the agricultural sector. I mean, the LGP is looking at boosting activities in that space. So hopefully by in the medium to long term, we can see some sort of stability without largely depending on crude oil earnings.
Okay, I think I have an information that I have live pictures from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Yes, I have Mr. Olayinka from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Mr. Olayinka, if you can hear me, how's trading been for the day? It's the third day of the week.
Market closed on a positive note today, gaining 0.6%. That's exactly 96.73 basis points. We have gainers, we have losers, and we have a gainer in the Cavatin helicopter PLC. But on value time, we have Nigerian Bureau at the top. I'm top in the gainers list. With one kobo. Total Nigerian PLC top in the losers list with 11.51 kobo. In all, market traded very well. We have more active stocks traded today. Mostly banking stocks.
Now, we saw the Nollywood star there, Biola Alabi, coming to close the market. She actually rang the gong, the closing gong. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean?
I was just around.
Oh, did you get my question?
Yes.
Yeah, I said, what does that mean to the capital market, to the image of the capital market? What impact would that have?
Well, it's an indication that the entertainment industry is also coming alive as far as market is concerned. They are also talking of possible listing in future. It's a positive trend for the market. It's a positive trend for the market. At least you have Nollywood industry coming to the market for possible listing and for showing us the stock that they have. Really, it was positive.
All right, Tajuddin Olayinka, dealer Valmont Securities Limited from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Thank you very much for that information. The market closed positively today. That is good news. But I still have my guest in the studio, and as we round up, she talked about sustainability, which is the issue of where the issue of diversification comes in. That's sustaining this inflows from the central bank. I don't know what you also make of this. The oil market is very volatile. Don't forget that there's even the shale oil production in the United States, and it's affecting Nigeria's production. So we have to really ramp up production. I don't know what you think, for the central bank sustaining this.
I agree with Uju. Sustainability of this process on a long term is dependent on the factors as Uju has highlighted. But the CBN is in a good position to sustain the supply of dollars into the market. The reserves are over $31 billion, as at the end of last week, and the reserve has been in a very, very healthy position for a number of months now. And when you compare that to when it was at $23 billion last year, regardless of whatever happens, at the moment the CBN is in a very, very healthy position to sustain that ramping up. The guys in Niger Delta, as you just said, they're relatively calm. Nobody's fighting them, nobody's bombing them. It's a bit of a gentleman arrangement now between us. And again, a lot of kudos has to go to the vice president. So no longer the acting president, the vice president for structuring that deal. All global oil prices will continue to be volatile as long as America and Canada continue pumping up shale production. But Nigeria and OPEC are doing their quota to maintain the prices in that stage and the stability a little bit. We have the freeze agreements that will last till March 2018 going on. Nigeria and Libya have been excluded, of course, but I don't even think at the moment that Nigeria is doing up to its agreed quota. So everybody's sort of playing their part to ensure that global oil prices remains relatively stable. On the short to medium term, for sure the CBN is fine to continue to maintain this.
Oh, Sub-Saharan Africa's investment analyst Ibrahim Babalola, Lola, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time. And also my research analyst with AfriInvest, Obianuju Nsofo. It's really been incisive and nice talking to you guys on the show today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Oh, time flies. That's our package for you today on Business Nigeria. Join us tomorrow for more insightful and detailed analysis. On behalf of the entire production crew, I must thank you very much for watching. I'll leave you with the figures of the exchange rate as it stands today. Bye for now.